Okay, so it is 6:03. So let's go ahead and honor everybody's time and get started with tonight's presentation. Mrs. Spejo, if you're ready to record, we can certainly start that. And we'll go ahead and formally get started tonight. I'm actually going to record as well. All right, welcome everybody to tonight's webinar, one of many of our Webinar Wednesday series, and you are here tonight for the 9th and 10th grade college and career orientation hosted by CUSD-Futureology. You're joined by our entire team tonight, along with some special guests. So thank you so much for being with us. We have a really huge crowd, and we're so excited that all of you are here to learn more about your college and career planning journey as freshman and sophomore. So before we get started, let's go into some housekeeping items for tonight. If we could go to the next slide, please. If you see this icon on the screen as we're moving along this evening, it means that there will be a hyperlinked resource for you when we send the presentation to you after this evening. We will be sending you a link to the recording of tonight's presentation, as well as a PDF of tonight's slide. And again, if you see this chain link icon, it means that there is a hyperlinked resource for you that you can access after this evening. And just a reminder to you, this is going to be one of many different recordings that we offer to our families. We have a YouTube channel of over 100 videos of our past presentations and events. So please check that out and subscribe if you haven't yet. It's a great place to get some information and to learn a little bit more as you kind of move along in your college and career planning process. If we can move on to the next slide, I'd love to introduce you to our team. My name is Bee Nguyen. I'm one of the 4 CUSD Futurology college and career counselors with the district. I'm joined here by my whole team this evening, and you'll be meeting all of them as we kind of pass the mic off to each other between sessions or sections. But I'm joined here by my colleague, Erica Espejo, who is over at San Clemente High School and Capo Valley High School, by my colleague, Ms. Jessica Yazdani, who is the college and career counselor at San Juan Hills High School, and by my colleague, Ms. Nicole Rengifo, who's over at Dana Hills High School and Tesoro High School. And we also have with us Ms. Erica Gardner, who is our coordinator of college and career guidance at the district. So you have a full team with you tonight, and we have some special guests from our College and Career Advantage program, and you'll be hearing from her in a little bit. So we're really excited to have you meet everybody as we move along tonight. So who are we? We are CUSD's credentialed college and career counselors. We are school counselors by trade, but we also have special experience as a team in college admissions reading. We've all worked either for the UCs or for private universities in reading applications and evaluating students for admission. So we take that to our work with students every day. In addition to that, we're data-driven, so everything that we do is based off of the needs of the district, what students and families need and want, and where there is a need, we try to fill that gap and close those gaps with our students and among our student population. We provide one-on-one college appointments, college and career counseling appointments. We provide webinars, workshops on campus. All of us are hosting, workshops throughout the day for your students in small group settings. So we are here to support your students in all areas of college and career counseling. And again, we're excited to be with you tonight. So if we can move on to the next slide, we're going to go ahead and discuss what's on tonight's agenda so that you know up front what is in store for you this evening. As 9th and 10th graders, a lot of the conversation we're going to have with you is going to be surrounding this concept of self-knowledge, self-exploration, and career exploration. So we're going to spend some time talking about that, as well as different exploration pathways that you can pursue throughout high school to grow as an individual and also to shine from a college admissions perspective. We're going to be talking about college admissions basics, A through G requirements versus high school graduation requirements. And if you don't know what the A through G requirements are, this is going to be a perfect opportunity for you to learn more about that because they're very important. We'll talk about grade level timelines and what each year will look like for you as you progress through high school. And then we'll wrap up with resources and upcoming events. So let's go ahead and move right into career exploration, right? This is a very important process for all of our students. And we encourage students to start this as soon as possible, not just in high school, but before that, right? In middle school, ideally, you were already beginning to explore careers. Career development is a lifelong process, right? It's a process of developing experiences and seeking and obtaining information about yourself and about the world of work around you to make sure that ultimately you find a career that aligns with your values, your skills, your strengths, your personality. That is the primary objective. And that's what we hope to achieve, with you as you progress through high school. But keep that in mind, right? Is that career development is a process and it's ongoing, and it begins the minute that you enter school, right? But it's a process that you will continue to develop over time. So let's talk about the college and career roadmap and what we see as what your timeline should look like as you progress through high school. So as 9th and 10th graders, your job is, well, number one, doing the best that you can in school, right? Focusing on becoming a high school student who can manage a high school schedule, who can ask for help, and who can develop study skills to succeed in subsequent years. But from a college planning perspective, for all of you, these 2 years, your first 2 years of high school, really are based on this concept, again, of self-exploration and career exploration, right? You can't search for colleges without having an understanding of who you are and what makes you tick in this world. So for you 9th graders out there especially, we encourage you to start with self-exploration, right? And we'll talk about a platform that you can use to begin this exploration in a little bit. But we want you to begin understanding what makes you tick in the world, what your personality is like, developing a vocabulary to explain to others, who you are and what your strengths are and maybe areas of improvement are. From there, we dive into the world of career exploration, which again is kind of a 9th through 11th grade process. But we encourage you to do that now and to continue to do that into next year. And from there, we then begin thinking of major exploration, right? So as you can see, it starts with you, it moves into careers. And from there, you get a sense of, okay, well, if I'm interested in this career pathway, I should be pursuing these specific kind of educational pathways in school, which is where major exploration comes into play. And that happens in that kind of 10th through 11th grade timeframe. From there, you'll see step 4 here, college training and exploration. This is where we get into that college search, right? And this typically doesn't happen until 11th grade. So I know some of you are super eager, but just know that the college search process really does begin in earnest in 11th grade after you've done some legwork in exploring majors and careers so that you understand what educational pathway you need to pursue those areas, right? And so we go into college exploration in 11th grade, and then ultimately the goal is, if you continue to do this research between now and even when you're in college, career satisfaction, career happiness is the end goal, right? That's the objective, is to dig deep enough to make sure that you're finding a career that aligns with strengths, skills, interests, personality, et cetera. And then of course, finally, we want to remind you that this is a continual process, right? That learning never stops, that even after you've landed the career of your dreams or the career pathway of your dreams, you will be asked to continue to learn, to develop as a professional. We as counselors have to continue developing as professionals by attending conferences and learning more, right? So this is a reminder to you that learning, that process of learning never ends. So, get the steps and the process in order now as far as how you learn best, because you will continue to learn throughout college and even after you finish school. So let's talk about an exploration approach, okay? As you are thinking about how to explore throughout school, there are 2 different ways that you can kind of think about this. You can explore your interest personally, extracurricularly, if you want to think of it that way, and then you can explore your interests academically. Mr. Njivo is going to dive a lot into how you can explore your interests from an academic perspective, but let me just kind of break this down for you, right? So if we're talking about exploring your interests on a personal level outside of school, okay, you want to think about what you're interested in, what you're good at, or maybe what you want to be better at, what's important to you. Think about those things and find experiences that align with those interests. And again, it doesn't have to be a passion, it could be a curiosity. But how are you finding ways to grow in that area, whether you're really good at it or you want to be better at it? It could be a club, it could be volunteering, it could be pursuing a hobby in more depth, right? And again, we'll talk about this in more depth later, but I just want you to get this sense of exploration on a personal level and on an academic level. Academically, obviously that's ways that you're exploring while you're in school, right? By taking the right electives, by pursuing additional courses like career technical education classes that align with a career of choice, by taking community college classes, by taking open online courses, which we'll discuss in a little bit, okay? But keep this in mind, this idea of personal exploration and academic exploration, and how these two can combine to make you a really competitive college applicant, but more importantly, help you kind of understand what your strengths are a little bit more throughout the years. So this is a quote by John Holland, who's a famous psychologist. And his whole theory on vocational choice or career choice is that a career choice is an expression of personality, right? And we're going to dive into a specific assessment that we want you to be familiar with after today so that you can leave today with something to actually work on. So John Holland, again, focused his life's work on this notion that people who pursue careers that align with their personalities find much greater job satisfaction and happiness in the long run. And that makes sense, right? To a certain degree, is if you align your job with your personality, it'll be more of a pleasurable experience for you to show up every day to work. So the Holland Code Assessment is a really popular assessment that is administered to students, to children, to adults. I did my first Holland Code Assessment when I was in college in my last year at UCI. But the Holland Code Assessment is a career personality assessment, and it helps to classify job categories based on your personality traits. You can see here on the screen that it is made up of 6 different personality types, and we are all a combination of these 6 different personality types. And your top 3 results when you take the assessment is your dominant Holland code. And that code can be used to help you identify careers that align with your personality, okay? Just keep in mind that as you complete these assessments over time, the results that you get are not telling you that these are the jobs of your dreams and that you should absolutely pursue these careers. It's just a way for you to narrow down careers that align with you so that you're not weeding through every single career known to man, because that would take a long time, right? So if we move on to the next slide, we can kind of take a look at the different personality types or codes within the Holland Code system. First of all, you have realistic personality types, right? Who are hands-on, who are practical, who are they like to work outside. They like to be moving a lot. They don't want to be in an office setting, right? As I'm explaining these to you, I want you to think to yourself, does this sound like me? You know? Next up, we have investigative personality types who are thinkers, who are problem solvers, who are a little bit more introverted. Realistic and investigative personality types are a little bit more introverted. They are our engineers. They are our scientists, our researchers. So if you're interested in engineering, I would be very interested to see if you got investigative as one of your top Holland Code results. And then we have artistic personality types who are not necessarily artists. So if you get this, it doesn't mean that you are necessarily supposed to be you know, a painter or a musician. Artistic personality types appreciate creativity and fluidity in the workspace. They appreciate flexibility, and they like to kind of make up their own rules, their own schedule. They appreciate that freedom in the workplace. Next up, we have a social personality type who most importantly wants to be of service to others. Counselors, therapists, nurses, teachers, they are social personality types, and they want to help others, and they don't mind working with others. They're more extroverted, right? as well as enterprising personality types who are also extroverted. These are our movers and our shakers, our business men and women. They are the people who want to take risks if they think there's going to be a reward at the end of it for them. They love to persuade people. They love to lead people. They are people who want to be business majors oftentimes, right? So does this sound like you? Yes or no? Start thinking about that. And then finally, we have conventional personality types who are a little bit more introverted, who love order, procedures. People who work in labs, lab technicians are really great examples of conventional personality types. So this is just a quick run through for you, so that when you take the assessment, you can get kind of an idea of what they mean, right, when you get your results. If we move along, right, the Holland Code, again, when you complete the assessment, and I'm going to show you how you can do this in a second, the assessment will give you your personality traits ranked from strongest to weakest, essentially, right? What relates to you the most, and then what is least like you. Your top 3 codes, again, are your dominant Holland code. So look out for those codes. And just keep in mind that we are all a combination of these things. We're not one thing, like singularly, right? We're a combination of all sorts of different things. And of course, your personality type is just one layer of exploration. We haven't even touched on your skills, your values, your strengths, right? All different assessments that you have access to when you create your California Colleges account. So please, for all of you in here, if you do not have a californiacolleges.edu account, I urge you to create your account after tonight. This is a platform that the district got grant funding for, so that it's paid for you to have individually. It will actually talk to Aries and import your grades from your transcript into your personal account so that you can monitor your A through G requirements for UC's and Cal State admission. You can monitor your high school graduation requirements. You can apply to UC's, Cal States, and community colleges, search for colleges, and most importantly, as it relates to tonight's topic, you can search for careers and take career assessments. There's a whole suite of career assessments for you. We can move quickly through the next couple of slides, Mr. Njifo, but this is what it's going to look like for you to create your account. And again, we're going to send you directions on how to do this after tonight. One big takeaway is that you will be registering with your personal email address. If you use your Capo email address, you will not be able to recover a password if you forget it. So please use your personal email address when you create this account on California Colleges. When you log in, it's going to look like this, and you'll see here at the top the kind of highlighted portion where it says career. That's what you're going to click on to access your career assessment. You're then going to click on Interest Profiler. This is one of 4 assessments that you have readily available to you that you can take. And the Interest Profiler is the Holland Code assessment. So this is what you're going to take after tonight. Once you click on that, I'll show you what it looks like. You're going to be asked a series of questions. You're going to click continue, and you'll see statements like this in front of you. One thing I want you to know is that this is not asking you if you want to do this for a living. It's simply asking if you want to, if this sounds interesting to you, if the activity sounds fun to you. Not do you want to build kitchen cabinets for a lifetime, but does building kitchen cabinets sound fun to you? Are you the person at home assembling furniture when somebody buys something from IKEA at home, right? And you will respond on a spectrum of really dislike to really, really like, and everything in between. So go with your gut. You don't have to know what it is to say that you would like to do it. It just has to sound interesting to you. So once you answer those questions, you will get your results. And it will look like this. And you'll see that this person scored highest in social, for example, right? So you will get your results. And then after that, it's actually going to curate a list of careers for you based on your Holland Code assessment results. And this is where you can start diving into the careers and the education required and how much money you're going to make each year in that career. It'll give you all sorts of interesting career information for you to explore, so that you can begin favoriting careers. You'll see on the right-hand side, there's a heart. And every time you come across a career of interest, you can add it to your favorites list, and it'll be added to your career list, and your counselor can see that. We can see that. So when we meet with you, we can have a conversation about that. Okay. So please create your accounts after tonight. That's all I have for you in California Colleges. Finally, if we move on to the next slide, just some career exploration resources for you after tonight that you can look into. California Colleges will be the #1 resource that you can go to, but these are some other options for you to explore as well as you look into different careers and opportunities for you when it comes to work after high school and college, okay? So just keep in mind that this is one step in the exploration process. And ideally, once you take the assessment, you're going to meet with a counselor or one of us or a career guidance specialist from CCA to discuss your results so that we can kind of help guide you in the right direction and give you feedback and help you with next steps. With that, I'm going to pass this off to Ms. Rangifo, who's going to talk to you about academic exploration and what you can do to become more competitive for college admissions, but better yet, to become a better and more kind of informed learner.
Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. Hi, everyone. So my name is Nicole Rangifo, and I'm super excited that you all are here. We're going to go over some ways to explore academically. So the goal is to find things that you're passionate about that you can explore while you're on campus or even some ways off campus. So finding activities or classes that might potentially lead to a future career. You can take a class and explore, find out if you love it, or maybe you don't love it. And that's a great way to kind of learn your personal interest. This is a great way to discover a career prior to going to college. You can make some knowledgeable decisions on where you head after high school because you've had experience during high school in different areas. So here are a few ways to explore academically throughout your high school career. So first, we have electives. Most of you will be meeting with your counselor in the next couple of weeks or months to select your classes. If you've already done so, you still have some time to chat with them, but if you haven't, you will soon. You're going to select from any of the electives you have available. Maybe there's culinary arts, maybe there's a robotics class. So something that you find really interesting that you can add during your periods 1 through 6 on campus. Those classes are awesome because they earn credit towards graduation, and they're a really neat way to explore while you're already on campus. We also have CCA courses, which we're going to go into more detail in a few minutes, but those are our CTE courses that are available to all Capo students. They are available during the school day or after school, depending on campus, but you can earn high school credit and maybe even college credit, which that would be a really great way to explore a future career, as well as get credit before you even leave high school. So you might start a college transcript, which again, that's free during high school. You can receive technical training. So some of these courses, you get hands-on experience from an industry professional that's worked for many, many years, 10, 20 years in an industry. And that's valuable experience, as well as potentially earning industry certifications within some of those classes. And we'll talk about that in a little bit on how you can actually earn those certificates before you leave high school. And then the third way would be through community college courses. We have a few local community college, campuses, most predominantly Saddleback just because of its location, but students can take classes either online or in person. And for all high school students, they are free. So students can explore subjects that either we don't have on campus or take higher levels. For example, if you wanted to take a foreign language that we don't offer, or a higher level computer science class, real estate, business, anything that you want to explore, you can take through Saddleback or other community colleges, and it's free for high school students. Again, you earn college credit, and it is a great way to explore something we don't typically offer on campus. And then if you have any questions about your schedule or how to add any of these courses, make sure you chat with your counselor so that way you can add one of these awesome classes to your schedule for next year or senior year. All right, we're going to go through a few additional ways to explore your interests. These would be extracurricular. So instead of your 6 classes on campus, what else can you do to explore things you might find interesting or to learn about a specific subject? So first, we have open online courses. This is a really unique way to kind of learn what it's like to take a college class or take a unique subject that we don't offer. And it's free, and students can take a variety of subjects from philosophy to math to cybersecurity. And these are university courses that the universities such as Princeton, Harvard, they create for students that can take at their leisure. So Coursera.org would be a really great resource if you have a unique interest or something you want to check out. These are classes you can do on your own time. They don't provide college credit, unfortunately, but it's that learning experience of seeing if you like a subject, as well as understanding a little glimpse into what it's like to take a college course. We also have YouTube. So I'm sure you've all seen YouTube, been on YouTube, but YouTube is a great way to learn about a specific subject. One, you can do it on your own time, maybe after school or on the weekend, but you can learn about editing photos or how to build a computer. So you can pretty much learn anything on YouTube and develop a skill or a hobby that potentially could help with a career in the future. Third, we have summer programs. Linked on this list is a summer program list through local universities and universities across the country that provide different programs for students in a variety of subjects. We have pre-college programs, which offer traditional college courses. Then they have summer programs within different categories such as STEM, health, medicine, law, business. So pretty much any subject you're interested in, there's probably a summer program that you can find. And if you click on this link, once we send it to you, you can peruse through this website. There are probably hundreds that we've listed currently, and we update it whenever we get new ones. The last one would be podcasts. So if you are driving or you have some free time, podcasts are a great way to learn about a different career or a subject and just get more knowledge on something to see if it's something you'd want to pursue further. You can learn that base knowledge and now take a class at Saddleback afterwards to further your education. So these are just some free and ways you can expand your knowledge kind of on your own time outside of your class. And then if you have any questions about how to add things to your application, or your resume, or ways to explore while you're in high school, talk to your counselor or your Futureology counselor on campus, and we can help you get involved in any of these activities. So if you're not sure how to sign up or you want to learn a little bit more, we're always here to help. Again, we're all located at a career center on campus, or your guidance counselors in the front office. So the next way would be to join a club. If you are not already in a club, you still have plenty of time to join. Linked is the list for each high school's current list of clubs. Say you join, you can stay for a few years. You can eventually become a leader of that club. If you don't see one you like, you can start a club. That's a great way to demonstrate leadership. But each of these high schools list all of the clubs that are available for students to sign up for. And there are so many unique clubs that there's probably something for everyone. So I would imagine you'll find something that you would enjoy. So definitely check this out. And if you haven't joined a club this year, maybe next year, add that to your list of to-dos. All right. And then next, volunteer. So volunteering is a way to explore potential careers and kind of get to know yourself, as well as giving back to the community. It's important to volunteer and explore to see if something is of interest to you. While it may look great on an application for college or a job or interview, it's great to do these things because it's something that you're passionate about or you're developing a passion. So these are things to remember when you do decide to volunteer over the next couple of years while you're in high school. Quality over quantity. So a couple long-term activities or positions within volunteering experiences are better than doing a ton every single year. They want to see commitment and working your way from being a regular member to maybe a leader. So one or two things you enjoy and are passionate about. Pick something that you actually like to do or that you love because you want to be there, you want to make a difference. So if you find that connection personally to whatever activity, you're going to probably want to go back and join and keep volunteering. So something you enjoy. And then stick with it. Long-term investment of time will definitely show, future jobs or future colleges that you are willing to make an impact and you're willing to commit your efforts to whatever it is you're doing. These are a few resources. So if students are looking for opportunities to volunteer and they're not really sure where to start, these are 3 great resources. So students can log in and see what local opportunities might exist, as well as pop into the counseling office or the career center to see if there's any current volunteer opportunities that we have posted on our job boards listed in the career center. All right, so next I'm going to pass the mic over to our career guidance specialist. So again, at each career center on each high school, there are 2 staff members. We have the Futureology College and Career Counselor, as well as a CCA career guidance specialist. So I'm going to pass it on over to Ms. Stephanie Brizeno, and she's going to introduce herself and kind of talk about her role here on campus.
Hi there. So I'm Stephanie Brizeno, and I'm currently, so there's 3 of us. I'm currently at Dana Hills High School and San Clemente High School. So we work very closely with our Futureology counterparts. We're in the same space. We both share school sites. So there's usually at least one of us on the school site every single day, whether your student walks in, if they're there for tutorial or flex time for workshops, or if they want to walk in at lunch or after school, we're there. It's a space for them. So I want to go specifically into CTE and a little bit more about what that is, because that is a huge component of what we do here in the district. So CTE is Career Technical Education. It is a huge statewide initiative driven by the workforce and industry needs. And they are courses that your student can take that allows them to explore different careers before they actually have to commit to a college major or commit to entering the workforce. So it ties into this exploration piece. And a lot of them will sequence together so you can take more than one level. So if your student really likes it, they can continue on the next year for a deeper dive to the advanced level. Depending on the pathway in the school site, sometimes you can do it 3 or 4 years. There's 15 industry sectors throughout California. So you kind of see the wheel there, that colorful wheel. And within that, there's 58 different pathways. And they're taught by people within that industry. And they might be currently in that industry and they're working part-time. That's what a lot of our CTE teachers do. And then there's other ones who are full-time teaching, but they all have current knowledge, very relevant. They know what they're talking about. CTE, the goal is to make it modern, to make it really applicable to the real world. And in these classes, they utilize modern technology within that industry. It's very hands-on and project-based. Your student is not going home with much homework from those classes because what they're doing is contained within that classroom, really, whether it's the software that they're using or the 3D printer, laser engraver, all those kind of things. Some of them will include internships, and those are typically the after-school classes. I'll talk more about those in a little bit. And then a lot of these will allow you to work towards different certifications. Our medical-based ones, the students are all getting CPR certified. They get certified in suturing, different things like that. Within our auto classes, there's different certifications. Cybersecurity, Cisco, they have their own certifications. So those are really the goals, so that the student is working and growing towards different things. They're all A through G, so college prep, and a lot of them are also weighted. So those are some added bonuses. Most of them will count as a Section G elective, but there are also several that will count for an F, which is your arts requirement, and even a couple that will count as the D, which is science requirement. And then Ms. Rangivo touched on articulation a little bit. And what that means is that these high school courses, the instructor for it has created a partnership at one of our local community colleges to where they have decided that the syllabus and the content that's being delivered is closely matched enough to where the student can simultaneously get CUSD credit, and that goes on their CUSD transcript, but then also getting credit at a community college. Most of our articulation agreements are with Saddleback, just proximity, but then there's also Coastline, there's Orange Coast, there's different ones in the area. And so that student, as long as they earn an A or B in their high school class, and there's a couple other hoops as far as like actually getting it entered into the system, but they're minor. As long as they get an A or B and they do it for the full year, that would count as a college course. So huge benefit there. If you want to progress to the next one. So more to the alphabet soup. So there's CTE, which is Career Technical Education. CCA is the program I work for. We are the program, College and Career Advantage, that brings CTE to our district. And it's actually a joint partnership between CUSD and Laguna Beach Unified. So CCA is technically its own district, but we are partnered together with CUSD and Laguna. And, the whole goal is to provide very relevant, engaging classes for these students. It's all a grant funded program, but it's part of the statewide initiative, and it's very aligned to current needs of the workforce. One of the things that we require for CCA is that the teacher has to have been in that industry for at least 5 years. Many of them have been in it for longer than that. And we bring both bell schedule classes, so something your student can pick on their regular schedule at their school site during the day. But we also have a whole bunch of after school classes. And the after school ones, they're taught at all 6 high schools in the district and also Laguna Beach. And since they're after school, your student is welcome to take those classes regardless of the high school that they attend. So those after school classes generally start at 4, so it's just enough time to get over there. A lot of times we recommend, that their student grabs a friend and signs up for the class with them. It just makes it a little bit more fun and a little bit easier if you're going to a different school site that you haven't been to before, just kind of have a little buddy there. But those after school classes, some of them will include an internship. And so the student is actually going to the work site for that. A lot of the medical ones include that, vet tech, dental, things like that. So the list for these classes that are available grows and changes year to year. But the after school offerings, that list is posted you can get, a most direct way would be, you could reach out to me or one of my colleagues at the other sites, but you can also reach out to the guidance department at your student school site, and they'll have the current list of it. Right now it's divided by, you'll see it by the site that it's taught at. But like I said, you are welcome to sign up for any of those. And to sign up for the after school classes, you contact your high school counselor or us, the career guidance specialist. Okay. So here's just kind of a snapshot, just so an overview, so you can kind of have an awareness of what types of industries we're talking about. So how it goes, like I said, there's 15 different pathways, and that's set by state of California. So that's how the colorful boxes are divided. And then the X's go down by school sites, so you can see where that's offered. And the last line under the school sites, it says after school. So any student has access to that. So if it's marked in a bold X down that bottom line of each kind of lateral grouping, then you know that's an after school course. So that's just a snapshot, and that grows and changes over time. A lot of those are set kind of by, I mean, mainly facilities and what's available at each school site, but then also what instructor is available where, things like that. But they do grow and change over time. So that's just kind of a, you know, bird's eye view of what we have, and then individual course titles within that, obviously.
Thank you, Mr. Zeno. All right, we are going to continue on. So now we're going to go over high school graduation versus A through G or college requirements. So first, we want to make sure students graduate, but then second, if they want to attend a university after high school, we want to make sure they're eligible as well. So in order to graduate high school, these are all the requirements. These are the current requirements that students must complete in order to earn that high school graduation and diploma. So 40 credits of English, and again, 1 year equals 10 credits. So essentially it'd be 4 years of English, 30 credits or 3 years of social studies, 30 credits or 3 years of math, 10 credits or 1 year of an art, a world language or a CTE class. So CTE would be those CCA classes that Ms. Presena was just mentioning, or they could take a Spanish, foreign language, or they could take drama or something of that. And then next, they need 2 years or 20 credits of PE. That can also be a sport. 2 years or 20 credits of science, and then 5 credits or 1 semester of health. And then the last is 65 credits of elective. That seems like a lot, but this is just all the remaining sections that students will fill up with all those fun electives or a 3rd or 4th year of a specific subject. And then next, to compare it to A through G requirements. So A through G is a set of requirements that was created by the University of California and the CSU Cal State systems. In order to make sure students are eligible for admissions, they need to complete their following requirements. Each of these categories or courses need to be met with a minimum of a C or higher. So students will need to pass with a C or higher. Graduation students could complete with a D or higher. So that is one big difference. But then for the individual courses, students will need to take 2 years of a history or social studies. They will need to complete 4 years of English. They will need 3 years of math. And if you see the arrow where it's recommended to take more, that's for a more competitive major or more competitive college. So if your student is planning on entering, say, in a science or health related field, those recommended extra years are definitely recommended to help during the application process. The next, which is lab science, 2 years, recommended 3 or 4, depending on students' major or career choice. The next category would be language other than English. So that foreign language, 2 years, 3 or 4 recommended. Next category would be your visual and performing arts. So 1 year is required, but 2 would be recommended. And then the last category is college prep elective, and 1 year is required. This category is unique. It doesn't have one specific course subject, basically anything above and beyond in the additional section. So an additional history class, an additional math class. So anything above the minimum in any other category could potentially fill that last category. And if your student or family ever has any questions on if students are meeting those A through G minimum requirements or what they need to take in order to be eligible, they can contact your school counselor or your futurology counselor in the Career Center to make sure that you understand if you are missing anything or you need to add anything over the next 2 years. All right, I'm going to pass the mic on over to my coworker, Miss Erica Espejo, going over post-secondary options.
Hello, my name is Miss Erica Espejo, and we're going to talk about post-secondary options, or your options after you graduate from high school. Post-secondary options, there are a few of them. So here are some options that we will go over on just some options, what you can do after high school. The first option is trade or vocational or technical schools. These are schools that can give you certification and training in a specific field. Some students have gone on to auto academies after graduating from high school to then work at a dealership, or for example, some students have gone into FIDM to go on to a career in fashion. So those are a few examples of trade or vocational schools. The second option is community college. Community colleges such as Saddleback is very popular with Capital Unified students. With community colleges, there are different options that you can explore. With community colleges, you can earn certification in various types of fields, aviation, fire science, and so forth. And you can also earn a 2-year associate degree. Community college is also an amazing and an affordable option for students who want to eventually attend a 4-year university. And they would do so by entering into the transfer program. So they would do 2 years of general education at a community college and then transfer to a 4-year university such as a UC or CSU. The third option is a 4-year college or university. With a college or university, you can earn a bachelor's degree. Bachelor's degrees are typically offered by 4-year colleges. And usually these have major training, and we will go into more of our 4-year options within the next slide. The next option is military. If you plan on, for example, joining the Air Force, Army, Coast Guard, Marine Corps, or Navy, military is also an option. We do have military guest speakers that do show up to our campuses to talk in depth on how to be recruited. So military in either branches of service is also an option as well. And the last option is apprenticeships. Apprenticeships is where you can work in a specific field. This can be welding, this can be being a plumber, construction, rail engineering, and so forth. And this is on-the-job training. So basically, you would just go ahead and just start out in welding, construction, and so forth. You would get mentorship as you're going through this program, and you would just get on-the-job training. And this is great for those who want to have like more of a hands-on learning type of experience and want to just go into the industry right away. Okay, next slide. And for the next slide, we're going to discuss post-secondary college options in California. So this slide specifically covers your options in California. So the first option is California State Universities. This is also known as the CSUs or Cal States. Some of these schools might include Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, San Diego State, Fullerton, and so forth. These also fall under the A through G requirements. So if you remember what my colleague, Mr. Ngiva, had said a few slides earlier, California State Universities require you to be eligible by taking the A through G requirements. Again, these are also a public institution. There are 23 California State Universities spread out through the state of California. Our next option is the University of California, commonly known as the UCs. These are also public research universities, and they also, and to qualify for the UCs, you would need to take the A through G course requirements. There are 9 UCs throughout California that serve undergraduate students. The next post-secondary college option are community colleges. I had mentioned this earlier in the previous slide, but just to quickly recap, these are public institutions. These also qualify for the Promise program. The Promise program is a program in which you would receive 2 years of community college for free. So as long as you're a full-time student, fill out a financial aid form, you are a first year college student and you've graduated from high school. Again, this is also the transfer route. This is very popular among a lot of our students in the district to eventually attend a community college such as Saddleback for 2 years and then transfer to a 4-year institution such as a UC or CSU. And there's also certification programs and associate's degrees that you can also earn at a community college. And the next category are private colleges. So California has about 85 private colleges. These tend to have higher tuition, but they also give out more financial aid and scholarships. Private colleges are supported by donors, alumni, and so forth. These have smaller class sizes, so if you value personalized attention, private colleges might be a route you might want to go into. Private colleges, these are colleges such as the University of Southern California, Loyola Marymount University, Chapman University, and so forth. And remember, we also like to emphasize the differences between eligibility and selection. So I had mentioned earlier, to be eligible for UCs and CSUs, you will need to meet the minimum A through G requirements. However, to be selective, you would need to exceed those minimum A through G requirements, taking honors and IB classes and AP classes to be more competitive. Some of these schools are more competitive than others. So it's very important to understand what is eligibility versus selection. So for example, minimum requirements for admissions, for example, the 3.0 for the UCs, and the GPA, average GPAs are going to vary from campus to campus. Some UCs are going to be more competitive than others. So definitely just continue trying to challenge yourself, take AP courses, and so forth. And remember that eligibility does not guarantee admissions, and selection is determined via holistic admission review. For some, holistic admission review is when we look at your entire application, we look at you within the context of your community, within the context of your school, what is being offered, and are you taking advantage of the most rigorous courses at the high school you're attending. Also, with eligibility, meeting minimum GPA requirements. However, to be qualified for the more selective schools, you would also need to exceed minimum GPA requirements. So definitely keeping up your GPA, developing amazing study habits, good study habits, and also continuing to challenge yourself throughout high school. Also understanding your academic profile. When it comes to GPA, schools will evaluate GPA differently. So for example, if you're considering CSUs and UCs, they'll be looking at your GPA between 10th through the end of 11th grade. Some private schools, some out-of-state schools may perhaps consider your grades from 9th grade moving forward. So you also want to just understand what GPA the universities you are considering are looking at. When it comes to test scores, you also have AP credit that you can receive if you do well on an AP exam. If you get a score of 3 or higher on an AP exam, you may be eligible for college credit. Test scores, SAT and ACT, while most schools are still going the route of test optional, there are some schools that are still accepting the SAT and ACT for admissions. Such schools include the public Florida universities, MIT, Purdue, and so forth. So those SAT and ACT, we also have resources where you can take a mock exam to see how you do on either the SAT or the ACT. And that's through Revolution Prep. Course selection. So taking an honors AP, International Baccalaureate, community college coursework, or a CCA class, taking courses that relate to what you want to study, relate to your major, and also continuing to challenge yourself by taking rigorous coursework will also count towards you appearing as a much more selective, a much more competitive applicant to a college that you're considering. And again, academic rigor, and this describes how the student develops academically over time. So definitely continue to challenge yourself and definitely consider to explore courses that may relate to perhaps what you want to do as a career, explore dual enrollment at community colleges in fields that you might be interested in. Okay. College application requirements. So when it comes to CSUs and UCs, to complete the A through G courses with a C or better, and remember for more selective colleges to also go beyond the minimum for A through G, and also considering taking AP and IB courses and honors courses. Essays and personal statements. UCs and private colleges will also be looking at essays and personal statements. This is your personal story that you are sharing with admissions readers. And us futurology counselors, we're also here to help you come up with topics for your essays and also to help review your essays. Letters of recommendation. So if you're applying to a private college or an out-of-state college, they might require letters of recommendations from your counselors, teachers, coaches, and so forth. College applications will also be looking at your list of student activities, awards, resume, and so forth. So these are the things that you do outside of academics. Are you involved in sports, volunteering, community service, internships? Do you have any hobbies, and so forth? Holistic review, and again, just to reiterate, holistic review looks at academic and personal factors. It's also combined with GPA, your essays, personal information, course rigor, major exploration. How are my classes? How are my volunteer work and activities relate to what I perhaps want to major in? Holistic review is also part of the admissions reviews for UC's privates and some out of states. And academic review mainly focuses on grades, test scores if applicable, course rigor, so definitely on those honors, AP and IB courses, and these will typically apply to Cal States and some out of state. Okay. All right, I will pass the microphone to my colleague, Ms. Jessica Yazdani, to discuss grade level action items.
All right. Hi, everyone. So now we're going to discuss what students should be doing within each grade level to kind of prepare for the college and career exploration process. So we'll start with 9th grade. So with 9th grade, one important thing that we recommend for students is to establish strong study habits. So there's obviously been a lot of transition when it comes to the pandemic, and then students are also having to get to know a whole new school environment coming from middle school. So we like to emphasize that students should really get into the habit of doing well in their academic courses. If they start out on a good note, most likely they'll kind of continue down that path. So we want students to take their courses seriously and figure out, what works best for them when it comes to completing homework assignments and studying for exams. In addition to kind of creating strong study habits and doing well their freshman year, we want students to get to know their resources on their campus. So if they're struggling within a certain academic subject, find out what resources are available to them. So for example, at San Juan Hills High School, where I'm at, we offer after school and before school math and English tutoring. So if that's something that students are struggling with, they can go before school and after school to receive help with those subjects. I know after school, the math tutoring takes place in our College and Career Center, and it's always packed with students. And I was definitely that student as well that needed that extra support when it came to math. So find out what supports are available during the school day that are free for students, and make sure your students are aware of those opportunities and taking advantage of it. In addition to that, once they've kind of settled in and figured out their place on campus, it's a good idea to explore different clubs that are available. I know that we mentioned that Ms. Rengifo mentioned clubs and exploring different clubs at your own site earlier on in this presentation. So we definitely want to emphasize the importance of finding a club or just really anything that your student feels connected to, that they feel passionate about. This helps when it comes to their college application presentations, of course, but it also helps when it comes to finding new friends on campus, building a network of people that have similar interests to their own. And it just helps students feel connected to something on campus outside of their academic courses. I know Ms. Nguyen mentioned the Holland Code assessments through California colleges earlier on in this presentation as well. So like she mentioned, I want to just reiterate her point. If your student hasn't already done so, have them create an account through www.californiacolleges.edu and have them take a career assessment. So like she mentioned earlier on, these assessments are backed by a psychologist named John Holland, who spent his entire career on helping other people find their passions when it comes to a specific career field. So they can take an assessment to figure out careers that align with their interests. And then what's really neat is that once they do a little bit of research and they click on each job title, it'll provide them with really important information, such as income information, so average salary. It'll give them a breakdown of job responsibilities that they would be in charge of. There's a video that they can watch to get an idea of a day in the life, and a lot of other important information to help them when it comes to career exploration. And what's also neat about it that I like is that sometimes we only hear about those common type of career fields like nursing or teaching or being a doctor or a firefighter. And this assessment will give students a giant list of different options to consider. And there may be some careers on there that students never have even heard of, but pay really well. And there's, good job outlook for the future and things like that. So it's a good way for students to just start brainstorming and thinking about all of the possibilities that are available to them. We recommend that students in every grade level meet with their college and career counselor. So like we mentioned in the beginning, I'm over at San Juan Hills High School. Ms. Rengifo is at Tesoro and Dana Hills High School. Mrs. Espejo is at Capo Valley and San Clemente, and Miss B. Nguyen is at Aliso Niguel High School. So students should schedule an appointment with us just to kind of give them like a general overview of what to expect throughout their time in high school to prepare for college and career. And then finally, students should make the most of their summer experience. So it's not only good for themselves to do something productive during summer, but also colleges definitely value when students have a meaningful summer experience. They just want to know that you're essentially not kind of sitting around at home all summer watching Netflix. Of course, if students want some downtime, like they deserve that, but they also want to know that your student was able to find something meaningful to do, whether that's taking a community college class for free at Saddleback. If you have travel plans, they offer online courses, so that's something to consider. That can mean volunteering for your student. That can mean working a part-time job if they're eligible, or signing up for a summer enrichment program. We actually have summer enrichment programs that we have put together on our Futureology website under events. So if you wanted a place to get started to kind of see what's available to you, feel free to check out our website for some resources. And then moving on to 10th grade. So once students again have kind of found their place on campus and they feel comfortable with the high school environment, we want students to try to challenge themselves. And that can mean taking honors and AP courses. I'm a huge advocate of balance. And so of course, students shouldn't take on more than what they feel comfortable taking on and more than what they feel like they can handle. So if they are feeling a little intimidated and they want to try maybe 1 or 2 honors or AP courses, that's great. I know sometimes students can compare themselves to others and they may see someone taking, several AP and honors courses and they may feel a pressure to do that themselves, but we're all so different. And so I like to emphasize that, what works for you may not work for me and vice versa. Your student may be really involved in extracurriculars. And so maybe that's their passion and they're only able to take on, 1 or 2 honors or AP courses. That's great. They have this other outlet where they're really strong in. But we do want students to challenge themselves in that way. And then they should always check in with their teachers to ask about leveling up. So if they're thinking about taking an honors or an AP course next school year, they should talk to the teacher and kind of get their feedback and opinion in terms of what the workload will be like. The teacher has seen your student throughout the year. They know their work ethic. They also know what the rigor is going to be like in an honors and AP class. And so they're able to offer their perspective in terms of how they feel like the student will do. And then in addition to that, your student will be meeting with their school counselor to talk about courses for next school year. So they can also ask their school counselor about their advice on taking an honors and AP class. They really just want to be mindful about that decision and kind of know how much work is going to be required of them. And then same thing. So students, if they're struggling in any course, they should receive academic support to help them. So check in with either your school counselor, or say you're struggling in math, check in with your math teacher and ask them what type of tutoring support is available on campus. If students are able to continue on with the clubs that they started freshman year, they should definitely do that. One thing I forgot to mention was that when you are exploring clubs or really any extracurricular activity, you definitely want to be mindful about what you're choosing. Colleges do value when students are able to do something for a long period of time. It shows dedication and commitment. So it's much better if you're able to, for example, be part of a club for grades 9 through 12 versus kind of doing a club for a few months here and then kind of ending it and then starting a new club another year and then ending that and then another one the following year. So be mindful about what you're choosing. So really try to think about, what it is that you're actually going to enjoy. What are you passionate about? And what could you see yourself, really enjoying to be a part of for the next several years potentially. Of course, if it's just not the right fit, you don't have to see it through all the way. 10th grade is a great year to start their career and major exploration. So, if they're not really sure what they want to do, they can continue taking career assessments in California colleges. They can also gain some exposure by volunteering somewhere that they feel like they maybe want to do one day for a career. So for example, if they have an interest in potentially becoming a nurse one day, a lot of local hospitals do take on student volunteers. And so that's a great way to gain exposure into, the world of working in a hospital. They may volunteer there and think, wow, like I really love this type of setting. I feel like this is something that I do want to do long term. Or they may, have the volunteer experience and think, what, this isn't for me. And that's okay. It's all about kind of process of elimination and figuring out what they like and don't like early on. Again, they should meet with their college and career counselor. And then also another way that students can, explore careers is by taking those CCA classes that we offer on our campus. So San Juan Hills High School and every single high school in our district, we have career technical education classes during the school day. We also offer after school programs. So that's a great way to learn about a specific career field that maybe they're interested in. And again, it'll either solidify their decision or they'll figure out that maybe it's just not a good fit for them. And then finally, again, students should be planning for a meaningful summer experience. So moving on to 11th grade, same thing. So very similar. We want students to continue to challenge themselves. So if they're able to take on, an additional honors or AP course, then we definitely encourage that. Just again, be mindful about, what that entails and how much work that comes along with. And of course, get your teacher's feedback. Consider taking a career technical education class like I just talked about. So find out what type of CCA classes are offered at your high school. And definitely check in with your school counselor about those courses. We recommend for juniors to plan to take either the ACT or SAT. They can definitely take both, but they only need to send in one score. A lot of colleges have remained test optional ever since the pandemic happened. So that's something that has been kind of a nice feature for students, because for these test optional universities, if a student does really well on one of these standardized tests, then it can definitely help boost their application. And then the nice thing is, if they're not extremely satisfied with their scores, they don't have to send it, since a lot of schools are test optional. We want students to continue on with clubs and activities. Again, the longer you're able to do something, the better it kind of looks and stands out on your application. It shows that you are dedicated to something long-term, that you really are committed, and that, you know, you're able to see something through. Students should continue with college and career exploration. So it's important for students to kind of first identify what it is they're wanting out of a university, whether that's small environment, medium-sized school, large school, figuring out if they want to go to a school that's really big on sports or that has a Greek life, or maybe they want to go to a school that's more focused on kind of academics and internships and co-op programs. So figuring that out is important before you kind of start the college search process. And I always like to tell students a great way to figure out what it is that you want out of a university and identifying characteristics that are important to you is to take some campus tours of colleges in person. So for example, they can go to UC Irvine just because it's local and nearby, and they can start to take notes and jot down things that they really liked about that campus, and then they can take notes on things they, you know, weren't very fond of. So then they can use that information to build their college list, and they kind of know what to look out for when it comes to exploring different colleges. And then, of course, that's your last summer before you kind of are able to start college, or sorry, last summer that you'll be able to kind of show on a college application. So you definitely want to do something meaningful every summer while you're in high school. And then finally, moving on to 12th grade. So similar, we want you to continue to challenge yourself. Sometimes students have this idea that, you know, 12th grade, you know, isn't as important as the other grades, but that's not true. Cal States and UCs actually specifically will be looking at the rigor of your senior year as one factor for the admissions process. So that is something that they're considering when they're making an admissions decision is this student continuing to challenge themselves, or do they kind of want to take it easy senior year? So really there's no time to get senioritis. There's no time to slack off. They want to know that that final year that you have in high school is truly going to prepare you for that next step to be successful in a college environment, especially when it comes to college courses. So continue to challenge yourself. If you can take another career technical education class, you know, try doing that to solidify your major decision. Senior year is the application process, right? So it's the time to shine. Students should be prepared for that process. And so that's really why we encourage students to meet with their college and career counselor every single year in high school, because we really will kind of sit down with them and give them a general overview of what they should be doing each year in high school. And so junior year is really important that you're meeting with your college and career counselor, because we really want you to kind of have all of your ducks lined in a row and know exactly what you need to be doing to prepare for next school year. Continue with your clubs and activities. Again, really no time to slack off, like continue to challenge yourself and show colleges that you're committed. Senior year is also the time to apply for financial aid and scholarships. And then, of course, we are here and ready to go to meet with seniors to help them with every step along the way when it comes to their college applications. So we definitely encourage that seniors are meeting with us in the fall of their senior year. Okay, so what is your role kind of within the college and career exploration process? So it's helpful to talk to your student about colleges and careers at home. Have these conversations early. If your student has no idea what they want to do, then start to talk to them about different jobs that you're aware of. If you have family or friends that are in a specific career field where you think your student would be successful in, maybe connect your student with that family member or friend so that they can start having those conversations and start to brainstorm, what it is they want to do long term. Communicate with your child's school counselor, teachers, the Futureology team. So, it takes a whole village to make sure that your student is on the right path and is successful. So feel free to reach out to the Futureology team, to their school counselor, to their teachers. And we can all kind of work together as a team to make sure that they're on the right track. Ask your child about schoolwork and homework. Of course, I know sometimes students can feel a little frustrated or overwhelmed if they're being asked too many questions, but check in with them. Just check in and see how they're doing and ask them how you can also support them. Instead of, kind of grilling them with questions, you can just say, I hope you're doing well. How can I support you with your academics? Is there anything you're struggling with where you kind of need me to step in and offer some support? And then, of course, if they're feeling extra overwhelmed, they should meet with their college and career counselor. So now we're going to touch base on some upcoming events that we want you all to be aware of. So mock SAT and ACT testing, we kind of recommend that for juniors, but if your student is a sophomore and they want to take a practice SAT or ACT, they're welcome to do so. We work with a company called Revolution Prep, and they actually offer free practice SAT and ACT tests. So they have an upcoming one this Saturday, actually, for ACT and SAT. It's at 9 a.m. You can go, and it's virtual, so it's online. You don't have to go anywhere in person. And what's nice is that they really try to mimic the real SAT and ACT. So it's a timed exam. And then afterwards, when students receive their results, they will schedule a one-on-one appointment with your student to talk about areas that they need to improve on, areas that they did really well on. And then from there, students can kind of decide which test they want to move forward with, and then how to go about planning for the actual thing and how to study for the actual test. We have another webinar coming up similar to this one on March 1st, and the title is How to Interview Like a Pro. So if your student is interested in learning, interview techniques and how to land a job, this will be a great webinar for them to attend. We have a mock admissions case study, so students can kind of get an idea of what college admission counselors are looking for within their college application, so they know what to expect. That will be on March 15th. And then in May, we'll have a webinar titled Choosing a College Major. So how to go about choosing a major, how to identify a major that's going to be a good fit for them, and kind of how to plan that process. And then finally, if your student wants to schedule a one-on-one appointment, they're welcome to do so. They can either schedule it. The easiest way is to schedule an appointment with us online through the Futureology website. But we all have up and running college and career centers now at every single high school site. So if your student wants to stop by the college and career center at their high school, they can check in with us and schedule an appointment with us in person as well. All right, and then feel free to check out, in addition to being able to schedule a one-on-one appointment with us, you can also check out our website for updated presentations that we have going on. You'll be able to register for all of those webinars that I just mentioned earlier through our website, and then you'll be able to find some additional resources and tips and advice in terms of how to prepare and be successful with college applications and career exploration. So lots of great resources on our website. All right, so that wraps up the end of our presentation this evening. We thank you so much for being with us tonight. And now we're able to open it up for questions. Oh, and then you can scan, please scan this survey actually before we open it up for questions, and answer these questions for us. Again, like Ms. B mentioned earlier on, we're very much so data driven. So this information is extremely helpful for us just to kind of have an idea of, what we need to work on and do better next time. And then we can start with questions as well.
Okay, everybody. So we had some families asking for the slides from tonight. So I'm in the process of getting you the link right now. So give me just a second, and I'm going to provide you a link for tonight's PDF. coming to you right now in the chat box. There will be a link for you, and this is for the slides for tonight's presentation. I believe somebody asked if there was a place for, oh, I think it's already been answered, but we do have a summer enrichment programs tab on our website. So if you are looking for summer opportunities, please look at our website under resources and you'll see summer enrichment opportunities. And that's where you can look for summer opportunities as well. So AP versus IB, what's better to take to be competitive for colleges? Well, not all of our schools offer IB for one thing, right? So I'm assuming that you're at an AP IB school. It doesn't matter. I think what's important is that your student decides to challenge themselves if they feel comfortable and that they have the bandwidth. So if they're interested in pursuing one of those pathways, I would look more into what aligns with their learning style and their interests more. You can earn college credit with both, right? And they're both challenging in their own ways. So I would have your student talk to their teachers at their school to learn more about the differences between AP versus IB, but through the lens of college admissions, there is not one that is superior to the other. So, IB is not better than AP, AP is not better than IB. I think the important takeaway is that the student challenged themselves throughout high school and they explored a higher level of rigor in their course load. And that's what's going to matter ultimately from a college admissions perspective. So we have another question here about AP exams. Can you describe how the AP tests work? Are they for getting into AP courses or for acquiring college credit after a course is complete? Great question. So the AP exam happens at the end of the AP course. Students will take an AP course and then they sign up in the fall for the exam, which takes place in May. So AP exams take place in May, and students sit for the exam for their corresponding class. And if they pass that exam with a 3, 4, or 5, those are passing scores, they may be eligible for college credit. So the big takeaway for AP classes is you will not get college credit unless you sign up for the exam and pass it with a 3, 4, or a 5. And depending on the college that your student ends up at, it will vary what kind of credit they'll get for that class or whether they'll get credit for that class at all. Usually students will get some kind of college credit for their AP exam scores that are passed. And you can actually look that up on College Board, the website. College Board will list, what AP scores will count for what at each institution. So that's a great place to look. And every university site has a page where they will tell you what they'll accept as far as AP course scores go and what they will use those scores to, what requirements those will satisfy for graduation requirements or major requirements. But the exam happens at in May of the school year that the student is taking the course. So there's no test to take to get into AP. The AP exam happens at the end of the course, essentially in May. And if the students pass, they get college credit for it.
So there's a question here about, do colleges look at your weighted GPA or non-weighted GPA? I have heard both, so I'm not sure. Essentially, UCs and Cal States are looking at your 10 through 12 weighted GPA. When it comes to private and out-of-state universities, since they're not all on one individualized system, similar to how the Cal States and UCs are, they each can kind of go about it a little bit differently. Some private schools might look at your non-weighted total 9 through 12 GPA. Some might look at your weighted 9 through 12 GPA. So when it comes to those private and out-of-state institutions, they each kind of run independently of one another. But you can expect that for sure Cal States and UCs are looking at your weighted 10 through 12 GPA.
I'm as a UCI reader, I read both. I looked at both unweighted and weighted back when I was reading. So I considered both as well. I think when they report GPA to the public on the admissions pages, they're reporting their weighted GPAs. But I just know that in my experience, I looked at both unweighted and weighted GPA for UCI applicants. But then there were some years, interestingly enough, where UCI, for example, removed the GPA altogether for admissions readers. So there were a couple of years where admissions readers couldn't even see the students' GPAs. They could see their courses and their grades, but they actually didn't get the GPA calculation. So unless the reader wanted to calculate the GPA themselves, they actually didn't even see a GPA. And I think that was like an experimental year, but the UCs will experiment with how they evaluate students. So keep that in mind as well. So just do the best you can.
There's another question about, so how would it be possible for a student to follow a sport, a club, external academic courses, AP classes, get a summer job, and other enrichment classes on top of schoolwork? So again, I am a huge advocate for balance. So it's really just a matter of what works best for your student. If your student is able to take on one club this school year and then really they want to focus on their academics and that's what they feel comfortable doing, that's what they should do. So there's not really like a set formula in terms of this is what you need to do and you need to take all these clubs and you need to be enrolled in this many sports in order to get in. It really should be what works best for your student. And I like to tell students too, a college at the end of the day should admit you for you and what you're capable of accomplishing and achieving, and it should be realistic. So, you shouldn't have to be admitted based on a version of yourself that's stretched so thin, that's so overwhelmed and stressed out. Sometimes what happens is students will do all of these things just to get in. And then once they get in, they feel so burnt out and they're not able to join as much as maybe they would have otherwise once they actually get to college. So we're definitely not recommending that they do, all of those things that we listed. It's more so just figuring out what of those recommendations that we talked about works best for them. And that could be a club each year in high school and focusing on their academics, or that could be, working a part-time job and volunteering and their academics, or, it can be a combination of multiple things or not as many things. It really just depends on the student.
Yeah, I second that. There are thousands of colleges in the country. There's absolutely a good fit for every student, and not every college needs you to do everything. So I will totally reiterate what Jessica just said. I agree completely. And I think the student just needs to do what feels right to them and with what bandwidth they have. And absolutely, there will be many colleges that will be a perfect fit for them.
Okay, do UC schools limit the number of weighted grades when calculating GPAs? So they do limit it to 8 semesters worth of UC approved honors courses and AP classes. You may want to go to, if you type into Google UC A through G approved course list, you can see the list of approved honors courses for your particular high school and AP classes. But yes, they do cap it at 8 semesters. And so something to be mindful of is on the high school transcript, it doesn't cap the weighted 10 through 12 GPA. So that might be a little different than what Cal States and UCs are using, but it shouldn't be too off from what I've seen in the past. It's usually like just barely different than that number, but that's something to be mindful of.
We have a lot of questions in here. So I'm just going to answer the first one in front of me. How do colleges view sports for admission? You didn't talk about that much. Similarly, how about having jobs during school year, summer? You talked a lot about volunteering and also about staying power. How about if a kid works for all 4 years of high school for 6 to 10 hours per week? So this is all good stuff, right? I think, and this was an introduction, right, to exploration, because 9th and 10th grade are about exploration. We go into depth in this subject in our college admissions parent orientation that we have at the beginning of each school year. So you can look forward to that in the fall. That's one of our biggest events. And we talk about college admissions ad nauseum. We'll go into everything, right? But, how does sports count? How do they weigh into admissions? It demonstrates that a student is able to maintain, a certain course load and grades while balancing a schedule outside of that involves training and games and practice, right? So it's always a good thing that students are out there doing what they love. So sports are, helpful in that they demonstrate that a student is able to balance their schedule, right? Is it going to be the thing, like the make or break factor? Not necessarily so, but it's a good thing. And most importantly, if the student wants to participate in that athletic activity or that sport, they should do it, because again, it demonstrates their ability to balance. Same thing goes for work. If a student is working and that's all they have time to do, the UCs ask about work experience. That's part of their extracurriculars activities section of their application. They ask if you've worked. They ask if you did work, how many hours per week, how many weeks per year. So all of this factors in to college admissions if they're evaluating you holistically and they want to know about your life outside of high school. There are some schools that evaluate you based purely on academics, like the Cal States, and they're just going to want to look at your grades and the courses you took, and they'll admit you based off of those factors without considering extracurriculars at all. So you want to be mindful of the colleges that you're applying to, just to know, how they will evaluate you. But work, sports, all of that stuff is great. If that's what the student is doing, that's just a demonstration that they're able to balance things and that they're, responsible for different activities and responsibilities outside of school. So it's all good. So if your child has an IEP, do you recommend that a parent attends their meeting with their counselor when planning for next year's classes? It's entirely up to you, right? I would talk to your student about it to see what they would prefer as they talk to their counselor about planning for next year. If you would prefer to be there, you can certainly reach out to the counselor to discuss it with them. But if you feel like you want to be there as an advocate or an extra voice, I would reach out to the counselor and ask to be present for that meeting. Or you can have a conversation with the counselor prior to your student coming in, right? For advisement, to see if you can kind of have that conversation in advance so that your student can come in and then talk to your counselor after having spoken to you.
I want to answer one question that just popped in. It scrolled away. So when students are applying for college, how is senior year GPA incorporated into the college application? So we did mention that UCs and Cal States, for example, look at 10 through 11 GPA, but senior year GPA is factored in for many private schools, out-of-state colleges. So there are two parts. If you are applying to those in-state California schools, colleges will look at the courses you've selected and ultimately make sure you pass. Out-of-state or private schools will look at your first semester GPA. They might request a mid-year transcript, so your first semester grades of senior year can be calculated and shown to those colleges. So it really depends where you apply, but it is still recommended to always do well and finish as strongly as you can, because schools ultimately will see your final grades, and all admissions are conditional pending your final grades for senior year.
Okay, so let's see here. If hopefully on track for being recruited as a college athlete, super cool. And for hopefully a strong academic school, should a student still pile on many APs to meet the college's average GPA in case the sports don't work out, or go through with sports with fewer AP classes and commit to the sport recruitment aspect of it? So I would say take as challenging of a course load as you can, given your athletic schedule, right? More importantly, do the best that you can in your classes, right? So get the best grades that you can, because grades are still going to matter. And at the end of the day, a really good athlete who has below average grades versus a really good athlete with good grades or decent grades, when we're comparing those two, coaches and schools are going to want to go for the athlete with the better grades, right? Because you will be held to academic standards as an NCAA athlete when you're competing at the college level. And when you have proven to be able to balance both school and work by getting good grades and managing your sports schedule, that proves to the college coach that you'll be able to actually play and compete in college and maintain the grades that you need to actually compete, right? And not have to sit out. So I encourage you not necessarily to overload yourself with AP honors, right? If that's not what you're comfortable with, but to get the best grades that you can, because it can certainly help you. And if you feel comfortable taking honors AP, maybe one, right? Not a whole load, but maybe one or two, I encourage you to do that because it could certainly help you with the recruitment process and with the admissions process, because depending on the school you're going to, you know, the coach wanting you might only go so far. Some schools do require you to have kind of minimum eligibility requirements or even a minimum SAT or ACT score to actually get into the school, even if you're a highly sought after recruit, right? So challenge yourself to your comfort level based on your athletic schedule. And more importantly, whether or not you're taking honors AP courses, get the best grades that you can, because that can certainly help you with the recruitment process. Cool. Wow, that was a lot of questions, and we got most of them answered. Any other questions before we wrap up for this evening? Thank you so much for being with us, everybody. Love spending these evenings with you. We have a lot more planned for the rest of the semester, so we hope to see you for those events as well. But if you don't have any other questions, you're welcome to log out. For this evening, we will be emailing everybody, not only the recording of tonight's presentation, but the slides as well, in case you missed it earlier. But thank you so much for joining us this evening. If you don't have any other questions, we will go ahead and wrap up for tonight.